Welcome to The Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on The Weekly, Gotham City Chronicles. Again?
Again? Oh, okay.
Yes, the Sutra of Pale Leaves.
Okay.
Trench Crusade Late Pledge for STLs. Sqwürmish, a vast, grim, Forbidden Psalm skirmish game. And Diamond Distribution Bankrupt.
Yeah,
surprise, surprise. Yeah, so we're kind of, and it is tabletop related, oddly enough, because right before they went bankrupt, they started to distribute tabletop games.
Which is why they went bankrupt.
Yeah, all right. Hopefully that's not connected. All right, so let's start off with, so this is, so Monolith keeps going back to the trough with, and every time I'm like, I don't want to play Batman. So Batman Gotham City Chronicles is back. So this is a new version, like a newer kind of updated version that they're calling, what are they calling it? Their Skyline Edition of the RPG, and then the Sidekick kind of supplement, which is all the minis. So they've been, Monolith has been doing Batman since 2018. They made $4.4 million on their original Kickstarter, which produced 162 miniatures for the Gotham City Chronicles board game. They returned in 2023 with Season 3 and the RPG release. So now they're saying, well, all those miniatures we have, well, you can you can use those for the RPG. And they probably paid a pretty penny to have some professional actual players do a session, but they were all cosplaying the villain, like Batman villains and stuff. So I was it was not great, and I don't think it sold the game well, because the thing that is actually interesting about this game is they do like 3 levels of playing in Gotham City. You can play as a regular everyday reporter detective. You can play as the kind of mafia presence in Gotham City, or you can play as the Penguin, the Joker, Catwoman.
Oh, you're playing a villain. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So they're giving you like these levels to play in, and I think as we saw with the Penguin streaming series, just playing the organized crime in Gotham City is pretty interesting. With no Batman present, there's a lot to do there. So because the city is such a mess, so that's a little bit interesting about Gotham City, but it doesn't seem like playing these really established characters, and I don't know as far as heroes and villains, because it's the whole Bat family and every Batman villain ever that they made miniatures and everything for. So that's never seemed very compelling. But hearing about how you can play kind of periphery, and it would be kind of cool, if there is some mechanics for it. Yeah, you're playing the little guys, and there's something crazy that happens with the Joker, and that's going to affect everything. Not directly. You're not talking to him, but the city
you could.
Is,
I don't know what you could represent that mechanically, but in a game, it kind of gives the GM narrative permission to go, oh, by the way, this kind of wacky thing happened that disrupts your plans, and you kind of go, oh, okay, fine, yeah, fair enough, right? So the Joker's kind of stolen all the vans that you were going to do your heist in, right?
Right. Yeah, so this is a Gamefound project, where the previous ones were Kickstarter. So Skyline Edition, which is a slipcover version of all 3 books for the RPG, and then the Sidekick content, which is 127 of the 162 miniatures that were made previously for the board games, and they're decent sculpts and everything, and they're also producing things like tile maps, locations, dice, and trays. So basically probably modified board game tiles and things like they did with Conan. We'll see. It's Pixel Circus is the ones that did the professional actual play. So if you like to see people kind of half-assly cosplay Batman villains, check out Villains Take Gotham.
They don't have Pixel VTuber people.
No, they don't. No, that might have helped a little bit, but so there's a lot of support, and a lot of prototypes got sent out, so people were kind of demoing things, and I guess because they've had so many seasons and stuff, there's a lot to show off. But so I just thought it was interesting that they actually knew maybe there's other things to do in this setting other than just play Batman and the Riddler. But and recently, the movies have taken a more realistic bent. They've kind of, so that might be a little tricky to kind of have an RPG that isn't going to be completely ridiculous. It's going to be a little more grounded. Might be
so Batman's not running around carrying a bomb and then this way's over a nun. Or this way's a baby carriage.
The big fuse on it. Right. Yeah. They should have. Or are we playing Adam West, or are we playing Christopher Nolan? What are we doing? Yeah. So so I'll put the link to that if you want to check that out. I'm not sure. I mean, there's something there, and there's got to be a fun way to play superheroes. Oh, well, masks. We had a nice we had a fun time.
But I am coming around to agreeing with people who say masks is not like the focus of masks is not you're a superhero. The focus of mask is you're a teenager and you're figuring crap out, and all these people right. So like if you wanted to play like a straight up superhero game, I would actually recommend a different game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're not going to get the you're not going to be punching the super mutants and stuff. Yeah, that's true. Well, here's a game that I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
The comments I don't think quite understand what's going on here. But
when have comments ever understood what's going on?
So that makes me worried that the designers and developer, or the publisher, is not quite sure either. But Call of Cthulhu is getting a new King in Yellow adventure set in 80s Japan.
This is Chaosium?
Yes, Chaosium. So Chaosium is giving us a new adventure. And so is technically the King in Yellow part of the mythos, the Lovecraft, like Cthulhu, or the whole like Elder Gods mythos? Because it's a different writer. And those stories are, I just went back recently and read a few of those stories. They're wonderful. They're so like weird and intense, and they create like, kind of alternative future worlds that have this like weird presence of this play, the King in Yellow, that like, it's this
messes stuff up.
Yeah. So that's the thing that kind of, contaminates the world, the thought of the existence of that, as opposed to, Cthulhu or some other specific elder god. But the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising, is set in 80s Japan, and there is one Japanese name.
Well, I saw this over your shoulder, and then I thought, okay, well, is this Chaosium? Yes. Well, then I'm automatically disinterested because Mike Merles works there. Right? He's the new head of something, whatever. Newish head of something. Then I went, I'm going to reserve my other judgment to hear how many Japanese-sounding people are actually involved here. And if it's like, if you said like main writer, then like I'd be like, okay, maybe. But if I'm just like, if this sounds like a lot of white people named, then
yeah. So Yukihiro Terada is one of the creative team, and it looks like there is nobody else of Asian descent, but you never know with marriages.
You never know, right?
And
you
stuff.
never know.
You never
but
know.
yeah, I mean,
so it's interesting that this tagline kind of caught me a little bit. I can see what is appealing about this. So, forgotten for centuries, the Sutra of Pale Leaves has resurfaced in 80s Japan, a time of excess, conspicuous consumption, and enormous technological change.
Okay, they certainly got that part right.
Yeah, right. So, so they kind of know what's interesting about that setting and why it would be fun to do this. But I think kind of the inspiration for this, and I didn't really even know this myself because I haven't even looked into Japanese language Call of Cthulhu. So in Japan, Call of Cthulhu beats the pants off of D&D. Like it's the number one tabletop RPG. Yep. But the domestically, meaning in Japan, developed adventures are modern day, set in high school or mundane, like Tokyo. It's just like you're a salaryman in Tokyo, you're a high school student. It's not a kind of period like 20s, investigators of the paranormal. It's more like, anime settings that have demon incursion kind of ideas. So that may have been the inspiration for this in the English speaking, or for Chaosium, to say, well, this is what Japan is doing, so let's do something like this. And so then, of course, in the comments, everyone is saying, oh, this is a great move by Chaosium. This is really going to do well in Japan. It's probably never going to get translated. It's never going to
It's probably never going to get translated, right? And it's just like, yeah. No, my thought was, so basically, Japanese Call of Cthulhu scenarios are X-Files.
Right.
Yeah, like set in whatever current thing, and it's just kind of not X-Files in that you're, professional investigators, but just kind of normal people in kind of now. Right?
So they much more like the mundane setting, so you're not playing anything historical. And someone also in the comments said, well, of course, because Japan is so problematic starting in the 20s. It's like, okay, let's not do that. But
okay, something I'll say like, yeah, Japan has a lot. How many times has Call of Cthulhu been mashed up with World War II?
Oh, yeah.
You're talking to me like there's not a problematic time to do it, right? So anyway.
Yes. So, so interesting. Kind of bubble time Japan, and going for a more of a mundane setting. It doesn't say specifically like, if this is going to be centered around a university like, Tokyo Miskatonic University or whatever.
This is maybe uncharitable, I'm thinking. I'm also trying to ignore people bashing PPTA and the and maths. No. Sorry, no. My thought here is, okay, 1980s Japan, because we're kind of allowed to get stuff wrong. Hey, it was 50 years ago, right? And we can kind of, it's 50 years ago, and this is fictional, right? So we can kind of, that is my uncharitable thought of kind of a way to, lost my train of thought there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But it also might be they could take inspiration from what's already been done in Japan, because there's been 40 years of adventures written in Japanese that have probably never been translated, not been localized, and probably because Chaosium probably doesn't have the rights to it. They'd have to buy it.
That would be. I don't know how you would go about it. I don't know if it'd be popular. That would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
How we have seen Dragonbane. Kind of the result of, what's the word I'm looking for? Independent kind of evolution, essentially, of D&D in Nordic countries, right? Kind of now come back into English, right? How cool would it be to say, wow, Call of Cthulhu is the most popular role-playing game in Japan. Here are the numbers to back it up. Why don't we translate and localize Japanese written adventures?
Well, I know why, but I'm not telling you.
Okay.
There's probably some pretty... for the current sensitivities, there's probably a lot of problematic stuff in there, and they probably don't mind the insanity concept. They don't mind the idea of insanity, and they're going to treat mental health a little more, casually.
Fair
so
point.
So it would take some manipulation. It wouldn't be a true, you wouldn't get a true experience of what they were trying to do, because I think a lot of it would be anime inspired or like.
You think so? The stuff that's here that would get written here. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting attempt, and they did. It seems like they got a Kasumi Lang is doing the cover art. So they got at least a Japanese artist to do the cover, married to Damon Lang. I imagine
you can't assume by name, but yeah.
Yes. And plus a lot of people take Japanese names as their nom de plume online.
The little bit of the Marvel debacle that I know. I didn't want. Okay, never mind. Moving on. Yep.
But so I'll put a link to that, and we'll see. They don't give a release date for this. 2025. Yeah.
Which is this year.
Yeah. So it's coming sometime this year. But yes, if you haven't read the King in Yellow stories, please do that, because I think that would be much more enjoyable than a American version of 80s Japan.
There's a lot there, and 80s Japan is interesting, but I would very much want it written by a Japanese person.
Yeah, or at least have good consultation on factually what you're doing. But I have so I just released the flip through of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness.
Nice.
So that was a kind of a Christmas present to the members.
Did your brain leak out the ears?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so, and it was confusing. Watch the video and find out what didn't get taken out in second edition, because I thought they really did edit a lot of the, calling homosexuality a mental illness and pedophilia. Yeah, so there are some interesting things in that original version, and that's a second printing. So I thought that was going to be the edited version, but it wasn't. They just
didn't have files available to edit. We got to just print the whole thing.
Right. Because the layout was looking a little strange. So I'm like, I wonder if stuff is missing here, because things got a little spread out. But yeah, we got to the pages, and it's all still intact. So find out what it was like in the 80s to talk about mental illness. And but I also take a look at the comics, original comics, a bunch of the supplements, which I really think they did a nice job with. Kind of taking the inspiration from those early comics. And if your only kind of knowledge of that property is the animation and the later movies and stuff, it was an indie comic. It was an 80s indie comic, self-published, black and white comic. So it was gritty and weird and kind of a parody of Daredevil, kind of the Daredevil origin. So it was fun, fun and kind of gritty and it got just turned into a kiddie property. And there's actually an interesting quote from one of the Palladium guys that said, yeah, as soon as that cartoon hit, the sales just tanked on this game because nobody wanted to play a Saturday morning cartoon kiddie game that their little cousin was into.
And now I'm thinking of all the Saturday morning cartoon inspired like games that are coming out like now.
Right. Yes. So I was busy working on that. So I'm a major effort to do stuff for the member area and then release it. So giving the members first shot at a lot of the bigger, longer format things. But what I need to do that is energy and focus. So how do I do that? Well, our friends at Magic Mind are back with us to introduce their new combination of products. So it's not a single product anymore. And the thing that their kind of new concept is mental wealth. So talking about investment in your mental wealth as far as diet, exercise, and everything that would help you be more focused, sleep better, and just function better. And so do
they have something that'll babysit my kids?
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about this because I did send samples again. So thank you, Magic Mind, for actually sending us the product to try. So sleep, diet, exercise, stress management, and exogenous compounds, so things, caffeine, things you would take outside to improve your performance. And one of those things could be Magic Mind. And so the thing that they're doing now is coupling that, or there's so during the day, Magic Mind helps you with focus, and Magic Mind Sleep will help you sleep. And one of the interesting things, I was reading the ingredients, and one of the major ingredients of the sleep is magnesium. And I guess that's a thing that's important to have for deeper sleep. And there's kind of an interesting thing. So once you're doing something like this, like specifically focusing on being sharper and more focused, and also sleeping better, you do like the behaviors kind of follow. Because when I was not getting enough sleep and I tried the Magic Mind Sleep, it was much harder to wake up in the morning because I was sleeping much deeper. So it kind of forces you to make to get extra sleep, to make sure you're getting your 6 to 8 hours instead of just staying up too late and then sneaking it in, because your body's going to tell you much more. Yeah, I was trying to get some good sleep here, and you screwed it all up. So they are. So this is kind of a 24-hour thing that they're doing now, instead of just something during the day. And of course, Magic Mind, you can still use your coffee to wake up in the morning, and just pairing it with this sustained caffeine release and extra focus, stress management, reduced inflammation, all kinds of wonderful things that Magic Mind can do for you. And now Magic Mind Sleep can give you the extra benefit of better mental functioning just because you've rested. So there's no better time. Start now. And I guess we're a little bit past New Year's resolutions, but you can build your mental resistance and invest in your mental wealth with Magic Mind. So what they've done for us is giving us a code. Oh, and that's what I'm not showing you. Hey guys, boom. There we go. So I'm gonna have to, I usually use that when I edit. So I'm doing terrible today. So they give us a URL that you can follow. So magicmind.com/upturnedpodjan. And so it's a January promotion for Magic Mind.
I got it now.
Yes. And it will give you 45% off of the bundle of Magic Mind and Magic Mind Sleep. And so they've got a couple of different ways you can do it. And they also do it as a subscription. So if you try it and just want to not have to worry about it being delivered, they now do ship internationally to 65 countries. So not only North America, and are in retail stores, including Sprouts, H-E-B, Central Market, and more. Nice. So 100% refund, no questions asked for 100 days after purchase. So yeah, they'll really let you try it out and make sure that it's either working or not working for you. And the other thing that they talk about is their nano encapsulation. So the ingredients are broken down into much finer. The compounds are much finer than what you would find in a powder or a pill. And that's why they prefer to do the liquid shot, because the active ingredients are very small. So that means they get absorbed 5 to 10 times faster than other ways of taking that in.
Is that talk for us stupid people who aren't mentally sharp? Particles are very small.
Very small. So give it a try and use our link. So that's magicmind.com, magicmind.com, and go to the specific link Upturn Pod Jan. So UPTURNEDPODJAN.
There's that focus.
There we go. And you'll generate a discount code then that you can use to try it out. So thank you so much, Magic Mind, for sponsoring our podcast. And we will we'll be back to the show, our regularly scheduled program.
Nice, smooth.
Boom.
We're professionals.
What's going on?
Okay, honestly, there's no. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. The time of New Year's resolutions is probably done, but I mean, realistically, you don't have to wait for the end of the year or the start of a new year to start something, right? Just start it and do it, right?
Yes. And speaking of things you may have not done yet this year.
I certainly haven't. No.
You haven't contributed to the huge total of Trench Crusade.
No, I haven't.
So they're up to $5.4 million. So that's amazing.
How much of that?
Oh, yeah. So good job for Trench Crusade. And so I think it was 3 when they finished the original the original campaign. I think it was 3. So this is kind of happening after the fact. And they're doing late pledges, and specifically My Mini Factory is promoting late pledges for the STLs. So this will be your last chance. That's I think next 30 days will be your last chance to get the digital files to be able to print these models and print everything that they released for the special price. Of course, they're going to exist on the My Mini Factory, per model. Right, okay, yeah. But when you total everything up, it's quite a price. It gets quite pricey full retail.
Not specifically about Trench Crusade, but I wonder when these late pledge things are just going to get to the point where it's a 24-hour, 365-day
right,
thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely. I think they realize. Oh yeah, we did a big push. We got a good marketing push for the pledge, but there is still so many people that we have cut off.
Sure, it makes sense. Okay, here's the funding period. Mm-hmm. If we don't raise the necessary money within this period, we're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. However, we understand like people miss things, right? People decide, okay, so we'll open it late pledge for this period. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think
things just seem to be getting longer and longer.
Yeah, well, and I think because of fulfillment and everything that is involved in some of this production, they realize it still is months or even like a year before they have to give final counts to a factory. So they're like, okay, well, let's see.
Why not?
Yeah,
okay,
what else? Yeah, what else we can get? Yeah. But they're also promoting this late pledge by doing a contest. So they're exclusive painting contest through My Mini Factory. So there are 3 categories you can enter the competition. Let me skip down to those. So the best painted, the best diorama, and the best kit bashed mini. Because
the last category, I can just submit gray plastic.
Yes, exactly. So they, So originally there were no official models. They're just basically illustrations and a few examples of kind of resin models that had been adapted from those illustrations, but now there's a whole line of official Trench Crusade models, but still they encourage you to kit bash. Yeah. That's great. That's great to hear that. And with digital files, that's even easier to do because you can bring in, you can print different elements, and there's so many people doing so much interesting stuff. If you like the heads on another,
how I know how Trench Crusade has made it?
Oh, how?
I see third parties serial number filed off stuff like, here's our Trench Pilgrims.
Right.
You're just like, okay, you've gotten big enough to where people are copying, or maybe not necessarily copying, but like you said, there is room for a third party kind of scratch built kit bash stuff. Mm-hmm. And why not take advantage of that by saying, here's something that's pretty close, use it however you want.
Right. Yeah, and I think just the kind of inspirational illustration and then the rules themselves, then the writing on the setting got people inspired to kind of figure out, oh, this is what, the Heretic Legion looks like. This is what the, Antioch would look, the new Antioch.
And then people like me read the rules and said, oof, no thank you. Right? I don't want to deal with all that nonsense.
Nice. So a couple of the pledge levels that are available in late pledges is the all-in everything, all reinforcements. That's $400, but that's every STL they produced. Just the 6 war bands and their associated reinforcements, 162. So that's the 6 war bands are the Trench Pilgrims, the Heretic Legion, New Antioch, the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, the Sultanate of the Iron Wall, and the Black Grail. And you can also get them though just as the 6-member war bands. Okay. So I think it's about about $30. So yeah, definitely reasonable. And you're helping support this game. So they're going to keep they'll keep developing for it, and I think they will for a while because that's quite a haul. I think they did a good job kind of getting the word out and getting a kind of an excited fan base. I
guess I do have to give them credit. This is basically like organically grown, right? Like kind of like from the ground up. Like we said, it started with just illustrations and then partnering with people to sculpt a few miniatures, and then out of that, right? Like this is, again, not to use the word, like organically grown rather than just kind of something put together by a corporation.
Yeah, it's a small team. They didn't have like some big investor throw a bunch of money. There's no lawyer or anything behind this. This is actually like people that, the designers and artists and creatives that want to make this game. And they all have full-time jobs. Like they're all, I think Tomas is at Sony still. So yeah, there's like people with like big full-time jobs, and this is their passion. So you're going to see
who obviously don't have kids, because where else does their free time go?
Right.
Sorry.
So look for Factory Fortress Inc. on My Mini Factory if you want to, or just search Trench Crusade and find all of these pages. I'll put links to the contest page and then the late pledge page so you can take a look. And yeah, really, really fun miniatures.
If by fun you mean grotesquely horrible.
Yes. Horrifying. I mean, horrifyingly, yes, grotesque. And so this is kind of kind of demon incursion, and the Crusades extended into basically World War One. Yeah, so it's a
where you get the trenches from.
Yeah,
Trench Crusade.
That's right.
Trench Crusade, right? So what if the Crusades continued up into World War One? Yes,
yes, exactly. So yeah, so check that out and get involved in something that's not 40K. Yes, all right. And speaking of something that is miniatures agnostic, Sqwürmish.
Sqwürmish.
So
that's a great name.
An infectious with a W instead of the so a game set. This is set in the Vast Grimm universe. So Vast Grimm is kind of a sci-fi horror setting for Morkborg, and this was funded a while ago. And the RPG version of this was funded a while ago. And this is kind of Forbidden Psalm, version of Vast Grimm's RPG. So the Grim Dying universe is what they call their setting. So a vibrant retro future space punk sensibility. So pairing their established game mechanics and their stunning graphics from the RPG. So yeah, they're using
retro future space punk sensibilities. I'm not disputing that. I'm wondering. And it's called Grim Dying Universe.
Grim, yeah, yes, Vast
Those
Grimm.
Things don't match,
yeah,
right?
Grim,
okay.
Grim Dying, yes. The Grim Dying usually, yes. So, yeah, I looked at this initially, and there was so much, so much Morkborg-inspired stuff, and they went a little too far into the doing individual dice colors for every faction and stuff, and so I was like, it didn't feel as like indie as I wanted it to, but it's got interesting art. It's got fun, really crazy, kind of bright day glow art. So for this game, they're working with Saul Blair of Malevoline, Malevoline Minis, to produce 28 millimeter minis for the game. So even though it is a minis agnostic game, you can use their official miniatures that they'll be producing for this campaign. So you're playing a crew of 5. Similar to Forbidden Psalm, in search of fortune, glory, and survival, infected by grim parasites. So there's your grimness, and so they're going to do also in the game itself. There's a wide range of weapons and gear, from throwing bones to pulse rifles to mini boom capital BOOM boxes. So yeah, each mini can be used unique as the character in the crew. So yeah, I guess they're going to do customization for the for the miniatures themselves. So those are STL or resin printed options for the miniatures. So of course this is the rules light Forbidden Psalm mechanic. So D20, the D20 of the RPG in a miniature war game, and they're going to do solo, co-op, or versus, with single one-off scenarios or long-form campaigns, and there are 13 campaigns included in the book.
Oh, I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Brian Cullen of the Vast Grimm RPG contributed to this, and Ross Brandt, the other co-creator, has written a number of scenarios, and then of course Saul Blair did the minis. So yeah, I'll put a link to that. That's kickstarting right now.
Getting a bit borged out.
Yes, you're all borked up.
Sorry.
Yes.
Unless and until someone comes up with like something related to the Swedish chef, I'm borked out.
They're all borked out. Yes. Cooking at the end of the world. And lastly, yes, something we knew was coming. We just didn't know how many years it was going to take. Diamond Comics publishers that held a near monopoly on the comic book industry has now filed Chapter 11.
If they had a near monopoly, why did they have to file Chapter 11?
Well, I think it was mostly their behavior of during COVID. So Diamond was important, when specialty comic book stores became a thing and you didn't have to go to the drugstore or bookstore to get comic books. There were comic book stores that had collectibles and t-shirts and stuff. Diamond was really, important at getting stuff out there, but they did have such a stranglehold on distribution that a lot of people and a lot of shops too became kind of, antagonistic with them. No, just because they were it was so frustrating. They would force certain deals, force you to do things a certain way. You have to buy this many books before you get an alternate cover. All kinds of nonsense that would happen. They played some games during the pandemic and basically just stopped shipping to everybody. And so then DC and Marvel said, okay, screw you. We're going to go to the big boys because there are still, the Penguin and some of the Random House, the bigger. People that deal with, and those aren't the names of the companies, but their distribution is now getting everywhere. It's not as limited as it used to be. So we're just going to leave. So first DC left, then Marvel left, and then Image and IDW were soon to follow.
So basically, all the comic book publishers found alternate distribution channels that were already established.
Yeah, because Diamond just shut down during the pandemic. They just the publisher said, we cannot do this. We cannot just go out of business for a year and then hope to come back. So unfortunately, they're selling their UK distribution arm, Diamond UK, but also Alliance Games. And I think there's already a bid by a Canadian company to buy Alliance Games, which is their tabletop game distribution. That's going to Universal Distribution of Canada. So and they also have their they got way too into this. Their collectible grading authority that will rate give you a letter grade for your collectible and put it in an acrylic case to seal it from the elements, and you can then put it on auction. So their grading authority, and then their merchandise arm, Diamond Select Toys, which I think is all that a GameStop is anymore, is Diamond Select Toys distribution. So here's a quote from Parker, their former. So Diamond has been a linchpin of the comic book industry for over 4 decades, but our priority has been to provide quality services to publishers, retailers, and ultimately comic fans, and we remain committed to finding additional buyers for our businesses. So they're selling it all off, and but it's leaving a lot of people kind of in the lurch. There's just a lot of angry comments about things.
It's the internet, Jeremy.
Yes, right. And but I think companies like Modifius, and now we're seeing this with Free League, are doing better at helping small designers distribute their games as opposed to going with somebody like Diamond, who you have no idea.
Purely anecdotal stuff. Maybe these smaller to mid-sized companies have learned from the mistakes of the past and gone, you know what? Let's not do that so we don't fold in 40 years. Although 40 years is still a pretty good run. But anyway.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, Goodman Games had signed an exclusive distribution deal with Diamond about a year ago. So they're going to have to sign another one pretty soon. But that's why Goodman Games was showing up on Amazon and stuff, is because they had that deal. But it's also screwed over people, which I was surprised to see, like WizKids. So Nika, NECA, Nika is owed $2.6 million from Diamond because they owe them, and so they're gonna have to try to get this back through these this Chapter 11 proceeding. So we'll see what happens. So WizKids, that's not good for them to have been screwed around so badly by Diamond. But so this is the end of we talked about this. This was I guess it was probably 2020 times when that first happened. So 5 years later, Diamond is no more. I'm sure though that name will be preserved somehow, but all of that original. So that's a real end of the era too, because I think it's the death of the American comic book as it was. I think we're just going to see digital distribution, on subscription platforms and stuff, because manga, English translated manga, is destroying the American comic book. It's dwarfing it. It's one book, like the what is it, the Demon Hunter or whatever series, one book sells more copies than every other superhero comic published in America. So
I'm going to have to go in a hot second, but
yes.
Do you think that is because of Demon Hunter itself? Or do you think that's because kind of the state of the comic book industry? Or I mean, maybe like a chicken and the egg thing here, right?
No, but I think it is just like it's better storytelling. I mean, people want storytelling and they're not getting that from American comics.
Possibly. Or okay, I'm not involved in comics at all anymore, but like when I was kind of like, that was like early 90s, I'm like, okay, these things don't have alternate covers. These things don't have all the ones that you got to collect. These things aren't available as a subscription service, which is then going to say, sorry, renew your subscription or you lose all your stuff, right?
Yeah. So it's crazy, but yeah. So the end of Alliance distributing your tabletop games and Diamond getting you your comics. So yeah, we'll see what that does, how that shakes up the industry overall, and especially brick and mortar comic stores. They haven't had a fun time of it through any of this nonsense. Really. All right, well, that's it for this week. Yeah. So where can people find you?
I forgot. Sorry, that's real professional. Blue Sky and Instagram, I guess, is still kind of the places I hang out, right?
Red Note? No Red Note? You're not sticking it to the capital
letters? It's hilarious what has happened. I want to see how it shakes out. Too many companies and corporations already have my information. I'm too lazy to go to another place, to be quite honest, right? Nope, I'm like, I've got Blue Sky, I've got Instagram. I check in groups on Facebook occasionally. That's all I can manage, right? Yeah. Anyway, how about you?
Oh, yes. I'm still due to do the January live stream. So that's happening next week, I'm pretty sure.
Still January.
Yes, it's still January, technically. And so Abuse Cartoons is my single panel gag cartoon. You can read that cartoon on Go Comics. So gocomics.com/domestic abuse. Link in the description. And I live stream the drawing of that on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah. And if you like what we're doing here with the weekly, consider becoming a weekling.
The strongest of all supporters.
You can do that at patreon.com/upturntable. So tell us what you want to see more of. And just get access to the audio feed of this live stream as well as the audio versions of our actual plays and all kinds of good stuff that's either available early or exclusively to Patreon, and also YouTube members. That join button below if you're watching this video, and become a member on YouTube, and that'll give you access also to the Discord, so you can see what we're complaining about on the Discord as far as our actual play schedules and everything.
I guess I gotta complain there too.
Yes. So upturntable.com is the main website, and all social media upturntable. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.